Some stories don't begin with celebration or applause. They begin in the ordinary, chaotic hum of the world, where everyone hurries by without a second thought, eyes fixed on their own paths. On a street like that, a fragile life can go unnoticed, unless one small pair of eyes refuses to look away. This isn't a tale of heroes in shining armor or of rescuers with endless means. It's about a child, a girl with worn sneakers, a stubborn heart, and a curiosity bigger than her size. Emily, just 11, stumbled onto something the world had chosen to ignore. What followed wasn't simple kindness. It was a quiet fight against the indifference of everyone around her. A fight that would test her family, ripple through her neighborhood, and prove that hope can rise from the smallest, most unexpected places. It begins, like many great things do, with a pause. Emily's shoes scuffed against the cracked pavement, her backpack weighed with books and unfinished homework. The afternoon was alive with the usual city chaos. Diesel buses coughing along the streets, crosswalk signals ticking down their slow, relentless countdowns, and backpacks brushing against briefcases as children and office workers slipped past store windows. The sun hung low and coppery, shadows stretching across the curb like long, sleepy fingers, making every motion sharper, every step feel hurried. Emily moved to the right edge of the sidewalk, careful not to step on discarded wrappers or gum-stained tiles. She passed a delivery van idling at a hydrant, a man in a tie shouting into his phone, and a barista dragging down the metal grate of a cafe with a metallic rattle that made the street shiver. Everyone moved forward, no one looked down. Everyone, that is, except her. At the corner of her vision, something small stirred, a dark knot pressed against the base of a parking meter. Emily froze. The abrupt stop made a cyclist swerve and curse as he passed. She leaned closer, curiosity pricking her heart, and there she saw it. A German shepherd puppy, no bigger than a pair of mittens, curled tight against the concrete. Its black and tan coat was matted and dull, patches of dirt stuck in the soft fur, and one tiny paw twitched as if testing the world. A thin streak of dried mud, or maybe blood, lined the pavement like a careless brushstroke. People stepped wide, avoiding the puppy as if it were nothing more than a puddle. Emily crouched, letting the chaos of the city fade into the background. She slipped off her backpack, palms open, reaching carefully. The puppy lifted its head, eyes wide and uncertain, meeting hers in a gaze that felt longer than the countdown of the crosswalk signal. No bark, no whimper, just the look of a small life asking if this rushing world still had room for it. Her hands trembled as she opened her lunchbox. Half a sandwich, a bruised apple, a handful of crackers, simple things, ordinary things, now, heavy with responsibility. She tore off a piece of bread and placed it near the puppy. For a long moment it hesitated, shrinking back into itself as if it might vanish into the cracks of the sidewalk. But hunger, stronger than fear, won. Tiny. Jaws closed around the bread, and Emily exhaled, the tension leaving her chest in a long, shivering breath. A spark of life flickered in the puppy's eyes. A man in a pressed shirt passed by, shaking his head. "Kid, that's a waste. It won't last the night," he muttered without slowing. Two teenagers laughed nearby, one whispering loud enough for her to hear, "She's feeding trash." Emily's cheeks burned. She pressed her hands against the cool concrete and whispered, almost to herself, "She's not trash." The puppy's gaze didn't waver. Steady now, testing her promise, trusting her small hands. Emily scanned the street for a solution. Across the road, the neon glow of a corner store caught her eye. She dashed inside, bell chiming, and asked. The clerk, a man counting bills behind the counter, "Do you have a cardboard box?" He barely glanced up. "For what? A puppy?" he said, irritation in his voice. "She's hurt. I need to take her home." The man shook his head. "Kid, leave it. That dog's trouble. Don't bring that mess in here. Emily's throat tightened, but she didn't cry. Her eyes caught a stack of plastic grocery bags near the door. She grabbed one, shoved a gym towel inside for a thin cushion, and ran back to the sidewalk. The puppy was still there, trembling slightly. Emily knelt, slid the towel beneath it, and lifted it carefully. The pup whimpered, legs twitching but didn't resist. It felt light, lighter than her school books, but the weight pressed against. Her chest like the silence of the whole street. Whispers and stares followed her as she walked. A woman muttered, "Why bother?" A teenage boy snapped a photo and laughed. Emily ignored them, gripping the bag closer. The world flowed around her like water, indifferent. Only she moved differently, upstream against the current, carrying a fragile life no one else would touch. At home, the kitchen smelled of sizzling onions. Her mother, still in scrubs, stirred a pot and stopped, eyes widening at the bundle in Emily's arms. "Emily? What is that?" she asked. Emily knelt, carefully setting the puppy on the tiles. Her mother's face tightened. "It's filthy. It could be sick. Put it back outside." Before Emily could answer, the back door creaked. Her father stepped in, damp from the drizzle, cap crooked. "What's this?" he asked, frowning. Emily took a deep breath. "She was hurt on the street. Nobody cared. I couldn't leave her." Her father rubbed his forehead. "Emily, we can't afford a vet. We can barely pay rent. We're not keeping it." Tears pricked her eyes, but she forced the words out. "I'll take care of her. I'll use my allowance. I'll do extra chores. Please, just let me try." The puppy shifted slightly, a soft whimper escaping. For a long moment, silence filled the kitchen, broken only by the faint rustle of the puppy's small breath. Her mother exhaled, shoulders sagging. She met her husband's eyes, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, her father muttered, "Just for tonight." Emily nodded, hugging the bag closer. She didn't argue. She had won the first battle. That night, the house fell quiet. Dishes stacked in the sink, television murmuring faintly. In Emily's bedroom, the only sound was shallow breathing. She had lined an old laundry basket with a soft blanket, setting it beside her bed. Inside, the German Shepherd puppy lay curled, ribs showing beneath its thin fur, eyes half shut. Emily dipped a cloth in warm water, wrung it out, and gently wiped dirt from the pup's coat. The puppy twitched but did not pull away. "You're safe now," Emily whispered, then added softly, "I'll call you Shadow, because you followed me like one, and even shadows deserve the light." The puppy gave a faint whimper before drifting back into uneasy sleep. Emily climbed into bed but didn't close her eyes for a long time. Moonlight cut across the room, striping the basket where Shadow lay. She reached down, resting her fingers against the puppy's side, counting each fragile breath. At last, she drifted into dreams. In them, she wandered through a dark forest, branches clawing at the sky, shivering and lost. Then, a pair of small, glowing eyes appeared ahead. Steady and patient, they guided her along a narrow path until dawn broke through the trees. Emily woke with a start, heart racing, the image still sharp in her mind. She leaned over the basket. Shadow stirred, shifting slightly under the blanket. Emily exhaled in relief, whispering into the quiet, "We'll find the way together." The next morning, the classroom buzzed with chatter and chair legs scraping against linoleum. Emily sat at her desk, shadow heavy in her thoughts, her notebook opened. To a page filled with uneven handwriting. Mrs. Carter, their teacher, clapped her hands. "All right, class. Today you'll read your essays. Topic: something that restored your faith." One by one, students stood reading about birthdays, winning soccer games, new phones. Laughter rippled through the room. Then it was Emily's turn. She rose, slowly, clutching her paper with both hands. Her voice trembled at first. I want to tell you about a German Shepherd puppy I found on the street." The room quieted. Then snickers started. A boy in the back muttered, "She's writing about a mutt?" Someone else giggled. Emily's cheeks flushed, but she kept going. She spoke of the eyes she couldn't forget, of carrying Shadow home in a bag, of promising not to leave her. Her words grew steadier, her gaze lifting from the page to the faces in front of her. By the time she finished, the room was still. Even Mrs. Carter dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "This," the teacher said, her voice soft but firm, "is why we write. Emily, I'd like you to read this at assembly next week." Emily blinked, stunned. Around her whispers rose, not mocking this time, but curious, thoughtful. For the first time, Shadow's story had stepped beyond the kitchen, beyond Emily's room, out into the world. The week after the essay, Emily came home humming, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. She pushed open the door, then froze. The laundry basket by her bed was empty. "Mom," her voice cracked. "Where's Shadow?" Her mother stepped from the hallway. Worry etched across her face. "She was in the yard a moment ago." I turned away and Emily, "I don't know." Emily's heart pounded. She dropped her backpack, bolted out the door, calling, "Shadow! Shadow!" The street swallowed her voice from across the road. Ryan, the boy who always teased her, leaned on his bike. "Looking for your crippled mutt?" he said, with a crooked grin. Emily's chest tightened. "Where is she?" Ryan hesitated, the grin fading. He shifted on his bike, guilt flickering in his eyes. "Some kids, they thought it'd be funny. They dragged her off behind the old parking lot." Emily didn't wait. "Sharon," Ryan pedaling fast to keep up. The-town blurred, fences, lampposts, puddles, until they reached the rusting chain-link fence of an abandoned lot. Inside, the shadows were long, broken cars scattered like skeletons. And there, tied to a pole with rough rope, was Shadow. Herbity trembled, eyes wide with panic, paws scraping uselessly at the ground. Emily dropped to her knees, fingers clawing at the knot. "It's okay. I'm here," she whispered, voice breaking. Shadow whimpered, struggling. Ryan slid off his bike, chewing his lip. Then, without a word, he pulled a pocket knife from his shorts, slicing the rope. The last strand snapped. Shadow collapsed. Into Emily's arms, her chest heaving. Emily clutched her tight, tears streaking down her cheeks. Ryan stood nearby, silent now, watching. The teasing was gone from his face. In its place lingered something different, something like respect. Rain hammered the roof that night, a steady roar broken by cracks of thunder. The windows rattled. The power flickered once, then steadied again. In Emily's room, Shadow lay curled in the basket, but something was wrong. Her breaths came too fast, her body hot under Emily's palm. Suddenly she coughed, Athen wheeze tearing from her chest. "Mom! Dad!" Emily's cry cut through the storm. Her mother rushed in, hair pulled back, eyes wide. She pressed her hand to the puppy's side, then met Emily's gaze. "She's burning up." Her father appeared in the doorway, raincoat halfin. "We have to go now." Minutes later, the family car tore down slick streets. Wipers fought against the downpour, headlights slicing through sheets of water. Emily sat in the back seat, cradling Shadow in a towel. Each jolt of the car made the puppy whimper. Emily whispered over and over, "Hold on, please hold on." They screeched. To a stop outside the veterinary clinic, its neon sign buzzing in the storm. Emily and her mother rushed inside, water dripping from their clothes. The vet, a woman in her 50s, met them at the counter. One look at Shadow and she barked orders to her assistant. "Get her on oxygen. Prepare fluids. Critical case." Emily clung to her. Father's sleeve. Heart hammering. For a moment, the thunder outside seemed to move into her chest, each rumble shaking her from the inside. The vet glanced back at her, eyes firm, but note unkind. "We'll do everything we can, but she's very weak." Emily pressed her wet hands together, whispering into the storm-filled silence. "Please don't take her away from." Hours passed in the clinic's waiting room. Emily sat curled on the plastic chair. Shadows, towel clutched tight in her lap. The storm outside had quieted, but inside her chest the thunder still rolled. At last the vet stepped out, her glasses fogged, her voice tired but steady. "She's stable for now, fever's down. She'll need close monitoring." But she made it through the night. Emily sagged against her mother's arm, tears spilling in relief. Then the clinic door opened again. A tall man in a leather jacket entered, shaking rain from his shoulders. His eyes landed on Shadow in the recovery crate. "That's my dog," he said flatly. Emily froze. "Yours?" The man nodded. "German Shepherd pup. I had her, but she got sick, weak. I couldn't deal with it." His shrug was careless, cutting. Figured she wouldn't last anyway. Emily's father stepped forward, face darkening. "So, you just left her on the street?" The man smirked, hands spreading. "She's mine. I can do what he want." Silence hung heavy. Emily pressed closer to her father, fists clenched. Shadow stirred faintly in the crate, eyes half opening at the sound of voices. Her father's voice cut through, low but sharp. "Family isn't who abandons you when you're weak. Family is who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself." The man's smirk faltered. He muttered something under his breath, then turned and walked out, the door slamming shut behind him. Emily bent toward the crate, whispering to Shadow, "You're ours now. No one will take you away." Shadow blinked, a soft whimper escaping her throat as if answering. Weeks passed. The sharp smell of disinfectant was replaced by the warmth of home. Shadow no longer lay, weak in the laundry basket. She had her own bed by the window, sunlight spilling over her black and tan coat. Her back legs remained frail, but with a special harness and a tiny wheelchair, Sherrilled forward with surprising speed, squeaking wheels echoing through the house. Emily laughed each time Shadow chased a ball across the wooden floor, tail wagging, wildly as if she'd never known despair. The sound filled the house, louder than the television, brighter than the ticking clock. Neighbors began to stop by. Mrs. Green from next door brought dog biscuits. The mailman crouched to scratch Shadow's ears. Even Ryan, awkward but determined, showed up with a new red leash. "She'll need this," he mumbled. Emily's father watched from the porch one evening, arms crossed, a rare smile tugging at his mouth. "Looks like she's got the whole street working for her," he said. That night, Emily sat on the porch steps. Shadow rested her head on Emily's knee, eyes half closed as the sky bled orange and purple. The air smelled of cut grass and wet pavement. Emily stroked her fur slowly. "You're not just my dog, Shadow. You're proof. Proof that even when everyone walks past, one choice can change everything." Shadow opened her eyes, lifting her head just enough to press her nose against Emily's hand. The wheels of her chair creaked, softly as she shifted closer, and in that quiet with dusk settling over the neighborhood, Emily felt certain of one thing.